Hello and welcome to FCell Weekly. In this week's episode, we will discuss the discovery of bone fragments that are assumed to have belonged to the oldest known human face ever discovered in Europe, the ceasefire proposed by the US delegation team that recently visited the Kremlin, and the groundbreaking images captured by NASA's Hera spacecraft. Then, without further ado, let's get started with this week's headlines. President Trump's first congressional address for his second term as chief of state took place within the last few days, and it was anything but uneventful. Trump laid out his administration's priorities and the party's agenda, and while all of these were happening, tensions were stirring up. He touched on economic concerns, highlighting the rising energy and basic goods costs while promising new trade negotiations with Ukraine over mineral resources. He also doubled down on his hardline immigration stance, claiming the border crisis was worsening due to the previous administration's policies. However, all hell was let loose on the House floor as the addresses quickly turned into a shouting match between the Republicans and the Democrats. At one point, the entire Republican bloc began chanting USA, USA together. Things escalated when Democratic Representative Al Green interrupted Trump's speech repeatedly, shouting, "You have no mandate to cut Medicaid." This led to his removal from the chamber, which only fueled the fire. Senator Bernie Sanders also made headlines when he walked out mid-speech in protest, shaking his head as he exited the hall. Meanwhile, tensions ran high among Democratic women lawmakers, many of whom attended the speech dressed in coordinated white and pink outfits as a symbolic stand for women's rights. Archaeologists working in Spain's Cima del Elefante cave have uncovered fossilized bone fragments that may have belonged to Europe's oldest known human face. The remains, which include a left cheekbone and a part from the upper jaw, are estimated to be between 1.1 and 1.4 million years old, pushing back the timeline of early human presence in the region by millennia. Researchers note that the fossil shares similarities with Homo erectus, but also presents distinct features that could suggest a previously unidentified species. Alongside the bones, stone tools and animal remains were found, indicating that early humans in the area relied on hunting and scavenging for survival. The site, located in northern Spain's Atapuerca Mountains, has been a key location for studying human evolution, with previous discoveries shedding light on Europe's earliest inhabitants. In recent developments, a U.S. delegation led by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff arrived in Moscow to engage in ceasefire negotiations concerning the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The proposed 30-day ceasefire aims to halt hostilities and create a window for diplomatic resolutions. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed reservations, demanding that Western nations cease arms shipments to Kiev as a precondition for any truce. Putin's concerns also include the potential for Ukraine to use the ceasefire period to mobilize and train troops, which he argues could undermine the ceasefire's intent. While all of these were happening, Russian forces have reportedly retaken the strategic town of Avdiivka in eastern Ukraine, marking their first significant territorial gain since the capture of Bakhmut in May 2023. In his recent address to the European Parliament, President Trump reiterated his stance on trade, emphasizing the introduction of reciprocal tariffs starting April 2nd. He argued that nations like China, India, and South Korea impose significantly higher tariffs on American goods compared to what the US levies on theirs, calling the current system unfair. To address this, he confirmed that the US would implement matching tariffs aiming to reduce trade imbalances and strengthen domestic industries. The speech also stirred tensions with the European Union as Trump threatened to introduce a 200% tariff on European wines, champagnes, and other alcoholic beverages. This was in response to the EU's plan to impose a 50% tariff on American whiskey starting April 1st. NASA's Hera spacecraft has captured new images of Deimos, the smaller and less studied of Mars's two moons, during a recent flyby. The images provide the clearest view yet of the moon's surface, revealing previously unseen geological details that may help scientists understand its origin. One of the main questions surrounding Deimos is whether it was an asteroid captured by Mars's gravity or if it formed from debris following a massive impact. The Hera probe's close-up shots suggest that the moon's composition is more similar to Mars itself, which could support the theory that it formed from an ancient collision. Scientists are now analyzing the data to determine how these findings fit into our understanding of Mars's history and the evolution of its moons. Thank you for tuning in to Hevsel Weekly. We will be back next week at the same time with more updates from around the world. Until then, stay informed and take care.